How do businesses, for those of you in business, how do you increase your income? How do you decide to spend? And as a country, on the brink of economic abundance, how do we make wise choices to benefit all? Money matters. It's important to us. And so, money matters. Let's learn about them. Today we have a panel of very experienced, qualified and reputable individuals who have agreed to share with us the benefit of their experience and knowledge. Let us utilize this time well. Ask the questions, learn from the sharing. Republic Bank remains committed to providing support to initiatives which redound to the benefit of the communities we serve. And we thank the University of Guyana for allowing us the privilege of participating today and look forward to future collaborations of this nature. Do have a meaningful session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Michael Joseph. I'd like to invite Mr. Michael Joseph, the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance, to give some brief remarks as well.
It was the late Honorable Hubert Blaise, Prime Minister of Grenada, who said that a good speech is a speech with a good beginning and a good ending. But the closer the ending is to the beginning, the better the speech. So I shall be so guided. Vice Chancellor of the University, Professor Igor Griffith, academic and administrative staff of the University of Guyana, moderator of proceedings, students of Turkeyen and Tain campuses of the University of Guyana, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I bring to you greetings from the Minister of Finance, Honorable Winston Gerald, and wishes for a successful Turkeyen and Tain talks. The Minister's requested of me, his Finance Secretary, to do the honor of these remarks on his behalf, as he had a prior engagement to attend. For me to represent this academic, legislator, and policymaker is indeed a tall order, no pun intended. So I enlist your empathy. The theme for this Turkeyen and Tain talk is money matters. But does money really matter? Money has been referred to by many names. To the church, it's a donation. To the school, it's a fee. To the retiree, it's a pension. To the children, it's an allowance. To the borrower, it's a loan. And very importantly, to the government, it's a tax. For the purpose of our discourse this evening, money is a medium of exchange that is durable, visible, uniform, of limited supply, and is generally acceptable as notes and coins. Money matters insofar as it is used to advance the welfare of the good life of humanity. Yes, used in the pursuit of the good life. But the good life is not necessarily the extravagant life. As we are reminded by Steve Jobs that being the richest man in the cemetery doesn't matter, but rather going to bed at night saying we have done something wonderful, that's what matters. The good life, originally associated with Aristotle, the philosopher, is much more than Maslow's physiological needs of food, clothing, and shelter. The good life, as envisaged by His Excellency David Granger, involves healthy eating, adequate clothing, decent housing, access to quality health care, access to employable education that will make for easy school-to-work transition, decent jobs, law and order, security, equality of gender, equality before the law, equality of treatment, clean air, clean energy, smart choices, peace and justice, among others. Money Matters as a Good Life must be funded by people, government, the private sector, or by civil society. People like you and me are responsible for providing the private goods we consume, which are the goods and services supplied and sold through the markets of the private sector. These private goods and services must be purchased to be consumed, and consumption by one individual prevents another individual from consuming it. In other words, they are personal and excludable when purchased. These private goods and services are such things as food, clothing, cell phones, and most other goods sold in the marketplace. Money matters to people like you and me for the purchase of private goods, and even so for our soul salvation. As we are warned in 1 Timothy 5, verse 8, that if anyone doesn't provide for his own, and especially his own household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. End of quote. The good life also requires enjoyment of goods and services that are not personal to you and me. These are public goods which are generally open for all to use and enjoy. And consumption by one person does not exclude another person from using and enjoying them. Many public goods can be consumed at no direct cost to the consumer. And consumption by one person does not exclude the consumption by another person. These goods include national security, flood control systems such as city fence, street lighting, roadways, recreational spaces, clean air and scenic views, among others. As these public goods are non-excludable in their enjoyment, payment are not usually required by the users to enjoy them. However, they must be paid for and are usually provided by governments, as the private sector has no incentive to provide them, given the room for free riding or non-inclusion of others. Government must therefore take on the responsibility for the provision of public goods in the absence of an incentive for the provision by the private sector. Money is earned by trading in goods and services, but governments don't trade. So when the individual trades his labor for wages and salaries, government impose personal income taxes on their earnings. And when companies earn profits in the trading of goods and services, governments impose company taxes. Taxes are therefore the lifeline of the government's income stream to pay for the provision of public goods as money matters. Indeed, money must be found to fund our diversified, resilient, low-carbon, people-centered green state development strategy, Vision 2040, which assumes an investment fund of $1.05 trillion Ghanaian dollars. The income base of households and the private sector largely constitute the pool from which government can tax and raise money that matters for the provision of public goods and services. That pool of taxable income is dwarfed by the incidence of large-scale unemployment and insufficient startups to replace business failures. Indeed,
we have come to a place today where we're hearing about cryptocurrencies linked to a popular phrase you hear, Bitcoin. Well, these are just electronic cash. And unlike banknotes and coins, Bitcoins do not have a central bank, but is sent from user to user over a peer-to-peer network. Then we have the credit theory of money. It's also known as the debt theory of money. In his 1914, explains the credit theory of money in this way. The credit theory is this, that a sale and purchase is exchanged for a commodity for credit. From this main theory springs a sub-theory that the value of credit or money does not depend on the value of any metal or metals, but on the right which the creditor acquires to payment. That is to say, to satisfaction for the credit, and on the obligation of the debtor to pay his debt, and conversely, on the right of the debtor to release himself from his debt by the tender of an equivalent debt owed by the creditor, and the obligation of the creditor to accept this tender in satisfaction of his credit. So this brings me to what is finance? Finance is a broad term which describes two related activities: the study of how money is managed and the actual process of acquiring needed funds. It's defined in different ways by different people. In a general sense, you will hear persons say finance is the management of money and other valuables which can be easily converted to cash. Experts will tell you finance is a simple task of providing necessary funds required by the business entities like companies, firms, individuals, and others on terms that are most favorable to achieve their economic objectives. Entrepreneurs will tell you finance is concerned with cash. It is so since every business transaction involves cash directly or indirectly. Academics will tell you finance is the procurement of funds and effective utilization of funds. It also deals with profits that adequately compensate for the costs and risks borne by the business. So here's the thing. We need to bring these two concepts together. Every one of us at some point in time, we need money. We need money for different things.
All the time.
Definitely. And so there is personal finance. And one might think, okay, I have money and then so it's okay. But let me tell you something about finance and personal finance. It's an activity that largely depends on one's earning, living requirements, goals, and desires. Personal finance includes some of the things I mentioned earlier that persons would like to purchase, like a house and a car, but it also could refer to insurance, mortgages, and various types of investments. Then there's corporate finance, which consists of the financial activities related to running a corporation, usually with a division and department set up to oversee the financial transactions. And then there is public finance. Earlier we heard about the government and taxes, and that is how they get their money. And so when we talk about public finance, we talk